I click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribe. I have a mailbox link in the description if you want to send me comic books or whatever. Um, so the reboots that use name recognition for this bait and switch, and then when you get to the show, they're hoping like, oh, Magnum PI or Quantum Leap or what's next, Fall Guy, and of all the other crap you saw as an '80s kid. And then you get to the show, you're like, oh, this doesn't look at all from. Oh, you're not Islamophobic, are you? Maybe, but I mean, it still does like that doesn't. The ad hominem and the deflection doesn't mean the show looks like the original show. Why didn't you make it look like the original? Oh, well, we updated it. Oh, well, we kind of want you to go in the other direction. We want the shows to look as similar to the original shows as possible. Well, we need to reflect the vibrant cultural diversity of whatever Saul Alinsky Frankfurt School cultural Marxist BS talking points they have. So you go, okay, but you did something called kind of detrimental reliance, this bait and switch, where you have name recognition of this case Quantum Leap, which was it went for 5 seasons. I will say it's kind of a grade B show. In hindsight, I look back at all this stuff and it is all kind of grade B. I will say the Fall Guy holds up very well. You had lightning in a bottle with all those actors, and that show really came together. A show about a guy who had these trucks, and he would break them in half basically every episode. It was insane what they did to these trucks, and the truck would go from like Ford to Dodge to Chevy, and I don't know, maybe truck fans noticed, but like they would break the truck in half the time. It was just brutal what they did. And then what they did to Dukes of Hazzard was, I don't know what kind of car that was. Oldsmobile? No. Was it a Dodge or something? They would break that car in half. Like you'd see that thing go over jumps. And like the truck at least had wheels and suspension. It would survive some jumps for a while because the wheels were so big. But they would take this sedan and take it over jumps, and the thing would, like, you'd see the frame buckle. It's like, how many of these classic cars did you go through over the course of the show? It's like, those are like irreplaceable, but at the time they made the show, they didn't give a crap about these kind of things. Anyway, so they're going to take all these things and then they're going to, in quotes, update it. And you go, listen, we want you to go by the Peter Jackson original Lord of the Rings method of where you try to make the show as close to the original as possible. And they look at you like you have two heads because what you're saying is that's not the reason they're retelling the shows. And they want to put all this, this woke nonsense in it and change all the characters. And they're like, well, why don't you just create something new? And again, they look at you like they don't understand what you're saying because of what Tolkien said about evil can't create. They really can't. And they need that bait and switch, detrimental reliance, name recognition of Quantum Leap. Your Generation X, you remember that show, or maybe the reruns too. Decent show for what it was. Wasn't trying to take any risks or anything. But it was entertaining, and people seem to have forgot the concept of entertainment. So they're helping you hear the show Quantum Leap, and then you get to the episodes, you're like, oh, so the episode's about trans athletes in sports, which is obviously topical now. So you trans athletes in children's sports, using locker rooms and that kind of thing. I mean, it's so on the nose, it's touching the brain. So are you going to tell both sides of the story, or just you're going to emotionally manipulate the audience? It's like, well, in this episode, which is like the lowest watched episode for the show's history, and the show itself is a low-rated show because it's not Quantum Leap, it's just cultural Marxist propaganda. The character who is playing the person who wants to go in the girls' sports threatens to to remove themselves from the mortal coil. It's like that's a weird TV show. That's kind of, you're putting it right out there. So this is like the messaging you're going forward with, that if they don't get their way, they're going to hurt themselves. Well, isn't that the issue, that the possible cognitive issues, not the sexual issue so much, but that this is on the table for this is the messaging you're going forward with, that essentially as a type of violence is on the table if they don't get their way. It's like it's self-inflicted violence, but it's still the same thing. It's still on the table. And you're making a TV show out of that. That's pretty weird that you would do that. It's like, well, it's only weird if you haven't been paying attention. So TV shows now are not anything recognizable. If you're of Generation X, you're over 40, you remember the original shows, saw them in reruns. Wings, Fall Guy, $6 Million, Dukes of Hazzard. There was one about a bunch of ninjas. I think it's called The Master, running around going on adventures. Basically Scooby-Doo across different platforms. And then you get to the new stuff. You're like, so the quantum leap. The guy's using a computer, right? And so I think Al, and the computer is calculating that this person would remove themselves from the mortal coil due to the agony of being shunned by the teammates, unless the character Ben can repair everything and get them on the team. That's a weird narrative that goes forward, and there's no counter narrative because all of Hollywood is on the same page of we're gonna emotionally manipulate the audience, but we're also saying this is their situation, is that the self-harm is the stick and the guilt that if you're against boys in the girls room, you're basically the one responsible for the self-harm. Like, no, maybe why don't we address that issue first? It's a lot of hot words for YouTube. A lot of it's some of these videos maybe I'll just put this on Rumble. Some of these things are kind of hard to make because like there are protected classes on YouTube. And so they go, 1.7 million people watch the show, which for shows is a very low number. But I look at it like, how did 1.7 million people watch this show? That seems like too many people. And this show got a second season. The original show went for 5 seasons. Not that long, but the original show was actually a show. They tried to entertain. This has got second season. So the thing is, the messaging, it's not connecting with people because most people are not cultural Marxists, and it's still got a second season. It's like Velma. People, did they tune in? See, people go, people tuned into Velma, so it got a second season. But did they subscribe to the network that hosted Velma, HBO or something? I don't know. I didn't. Where I watched it. Because that's the number you're looking at, not people who watched it. It was already there. It's like, what was the net? Did it prevent anyone from unsubscribing, and did it get new subs? I really doubt it moved the needle in that regard. So like, it got a second season. This got a second season, and you go, but these aren't bringing in new audiences. They're not retaining the old audience. They're not doing anything. They're probably slightly negative, and they're costing you money. So you go, why are you making this? You're a business, right? It's like you have articles of incorporation. You've got a business plan. You have a return on investment and shareholders. So why are you doing this if it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint? Like, this is the boys in the girls room. Most people are against that. So, and you're not telling both sides of the story. It's because it's for ideological reasons. Like I keep saying, cultural Marxism for a reason. They're not chasing, businesses are just after the almighty dollar. No, they're clearly not, because they wouldn't be making these type of decisions. You think Disney Star Wars is like it's just interested in finances if they're continuing to go down this path by putting like how many movies have they had that have bombed lately, and people are going, yeah, the BLT stuff, like the two people kissing, the same group kissing in the background, like there's not that many BLT people in the audience, and most people who are don't want to see that. And you can attack the audience all you want, but it doesn't get them to go watch your video. So why are you making these? Why is a $1 billion company in a $1 trillion industry? Why are they putting this ideological axe grinding in shows when the audience isn't on board with it? Because it's social engineering on a large scale. Like, what's going on here is no tinfoil hat is required just to look at this and go, clearly there's something else going on here, and it's not good, and it's going to continue to go on as long as like you just want to grill. The groups that advocate and advance their interests are going to move forward over groups that don't, which is why it's very important to make videos and talk about this kind of stuff and more and more. Anyway, these videos are like, some of this stuff, like there's a bunch of topics I look at, and it's I look at them and like, I can't, like there's another video I thought about making where there's a voice actor called Steve Blum, endorses the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and talking about reparations, and he's got a tweet, and there's videos that are not worth making because I know what the comment section is going to say in the comments, like all the dog whistles. YouTube knows all the dog whistles, so please don't. It's just YouTube. It's not me. Like on Odyssey and Bit Chute, you can say anything you want. On Telegram, you can say almost anything you want. That's legal. It's YouTube. YouTube knows all the dogma. So I look at the video and go, oh, I just can't make that because I know what people are going to say in the comments. So it's like it's too obvious. And then even making it, to not use strings of words combinations together, hot words combinations, it's just impossible. Other people can make the videos. Like the Quartering can make any video he wants, and he's not gonna, because the presumption is different. I mean, he's got a million subs. It's different, but it's also like some people can do it, and the presumption is going to go one way, and other people can do it, and the presumption is gonna rightfully go the other way. I'll admit that, and I'll just put this on Rumble. I'm gonna have to check out to see how far I can go on Rumble. Anyway, click the links. You can send me something. Let me know through an email or something if you mail me something, so I can go down there and check. And I will see you guys on next episode.